Protoss versus Terran, a very interesting matchup, in particular over the last 6 months or so, as it's been going through a lot of changes. In the earlier part of 2017, Terran players were absolutely dominating Protoss at the professional level of play, and it even got to the point where Terran players were winning roughly 64% of all professional matches, which was some of the worst imbalance we've ever seen in StarCraft 2 ever since the release back in 2010, when we had a similar win rate for Terran players in Terran versus Zerg. Now, of course, Blizzard was paying attention, they gave it some time, but they ended up nerfing the Liberator as well as the Widowmine for, in particular, the Terran versus Protoss matchup. And for a while, it seemed to be roughly, a 50-50 split in the matchup. However, Protoss players started experimenting with different kinds of unit compositions, and for a while, the Adept Phoenix composition was getting stronger and stronger and stronger because Protoss players were getting better and better and better at controlling those units as well. And it even got to the point, which is what makes it so funny, that Protoss players were winning roughly 65% of all of the professional matches. Now, once again, Blizzard was paying attention, right? And they ended up nerfing the Adept really just a couple of days ago. The Adept went down from 80 health to 70, and all of a sudden, Terran players and Protoss players alike are once again figuring out this matchup. Now, what I got for you today is a very, very high-level Terran versus Protoss, and spawning in the northeast corner of Cactus Valley alley, we have none other than the rank 1 Protoss in the world right now. He goes by the nickname of Hero, and his opponent spawning in the cross position, playing in blue and playing with Terran, we have none other than Gumiho. Now, Hero actually, and this is what makes him so strong, and this is why I love watching Hero play, he's building a proxy pylon on the other end of the map. However, this is a 4-player map, and he doesn't yet know where his opponent has spawned. I think this is gonna be a Stargate right now, and this is what makes Hero so terrifying, okay? This Stargate right here that he will shortly be putting down, it has to be almost, once the Cybercore finishes, there we go. This Stargate that he puts down will really only work in roughly 2 out of 3 of the games that you play on this map. If his opponent spawns in the bottom right corner, it's gonna be alright. If he spawns in the bottom left as well, which is where you see him this time around, he's gonna be fine too. However, in the top left corner, the travel time for that Oracle would be absolutely insane. Now, Hero should be very happy here indeed. He now knows that his opponent is located in the bottom left corner, and this allows him to go for a super powerful strategy. And I wonder, will Gumiho be able to defend against this? I mean, generally speaking, you don't expect your opponent to go for a proxy Stargate on a 4-player map. Mothership Core actually moving across here as well as the very first Adept. That does mean that this Reaper that will shortly be arriving here in the cross position will have free reign of that base for just a little while. But with that first Oracle already in production, there's gonna be a ton of pressure here on the other end of the map. The 2 probes trying to go after the command center, or rather the SCV that is going after that command center as well. First pylon already constructed. Now Gumiho will have vision of this, but with the Mothership Core very shortly arriving here, there's gonna be a lot of pressure right here from the get-go. That first Reaper apparently ended up getting a kill here as well. Second Adept just about to finish up. That will be able to shut this down here for the time being. But with the Photon Overcharge being activated, the Marines are going to be in a lot of trouble. Of course, the very first Oracle will now also be joining this battle, and this is what makes this so very, very terrifying. With good control, however, Gumiho can still micro this backwards, and look at that! That control was absolutely insane! Generally speaking, oh my god, I did not expect that whatsoever, that's insane! Generally speaking, 5 Marines or so cannot win against a single Oracle unless your status stepping is absolutely impeccable, and that's exactly what Gumiho ended up doing right there. Now, of course, the Adept as well as that Mothership Core still trying to do whatever damage they can. They ended up killing 2 of the depots there at the front, so for the time being, apparently, this aggression will get shut down. Hero once again gonna go after all of these SCVs with the second Oracle as well. I can't stand, though, how proper that control was there on those first couple of Marines. And Hero, he's gonna probably be able to get out of there, but just barely. Try to pick up whatever he can. There we go, solid micro on his end. We'll be able to pick up 6 SCV kills there in total. But at the same time, that Reaper still trying to do some damage here on the other end of the map, and it will be able to scout out exactly what is going on, and that's a whole lot of nothing. Just additional probes being produced, as well as that Nexus on the low ground. The Marines apparently trying to move out right now, but another Oracle has joined this battle as well. A missile turret is being constructed right now, but it's not not finishing up just yet, and all of these Marines, they're leaving the main base. They're trying to do pressure here on the other end of the map, and they're still waddling across. But so many SCVs end up falling there, and with 12 in total, I think that Hero, even though his aggression didn't seem to work initially, must feel pretty good here. He's continuously building more and more of those oracles, and I actually really like that, because they are very, very good at those Marines, as long as they are microed correctly. Now, 2 Pylons here at the front will, of course, be able to go for that photon overcharge. A bunch of the probes are already being transferred here as well. This is such a slippery slope, though, for both of these players. With one misstep, this game can end very, very quickly. Now, of course, that shade will not be activated. That's just there to scout out where those Marines are located, and more actually are moving across the map right now as well. Stimpack did finish up, so I think that Gumiho is looking to go for a bunch of damage now that the Mothership Core is running out of energy. It's got time for one more photon overcharge. That one has indeed been triggered, but I think that once these reinforcing Marines arrive, there's gonna be a big push here on the other end of the map as well. And this matchup, it's starting to get very, very, very aggressive. Nice target firing there. Of course, we do see a couple of those falling, and actually that control there on those Marines has been absolutely impeccable. Gumiho, all of a sudden, winning the match here on the other end of the game, doing so much damage here. Now that Stalkers, however, have been warped in as well, I think that they will get shut down here. That last Oracle also ended up falling. Man! Gumiho's control here on those Marines has been impeccable. I mean, first off, he killed one of the Oracles here with just a handful of them, and then 4 Oracles went down to like what? Like, what was that? Like 15 Marines or so? That only happens if you stutter step as confidently as he did right there. Basically microing his Terran Marines while also moving them at the exact same time and trying to optimize the amount of damage that they can do. Absolutely insane. However, Hero, of course, his control was really solid as well, right? And while he ended up losing a bunch of those Oracles, they're very, very flimsy units, and actually I think the last one here may end up falling as well. Indeed, we do see that puff of green clouds as well, or that bunch of green smoke. Even though, you know, the early game went quite solid in favor of Hero, it looked like we are actually setting up for a reasonably even game. I mean, supply-wise, both players are looking very, very solid. Of course, while currently the amount of workers is in favor here of the Protoss player, we do have mules that are gonna help out the Terran player in blue in the bottom left corner as well. A very action-packed game so far. Very, very cool to see. Now, when it comes to Gumiho, he's currently got roughly 63% win rate in the Terran versus Protoss matchup. The exact same actually can be said for Hero. Also currently Terran versus Protoss, or rather his Protoss versus Terran is currently 63% in favor of him, which is very, very impressive. Both of them are very, very good. Now, of course, in case you missed it, Hero ended up winning the Super Tournament from the GSL just a couple of weeks ago. A super high-level tournament. Actually, well, it's called the GSL Super Tournament. Pun not intended right there. But this guy has been on an absolute tear. But like I said, with the recent changes to Terran versus Protoss, it's quite fascinating to see where this will end in the near future. Now, a couple of Marines apparently trying to make their way towards this base. Another Stalker here tried to scout out what was going on here. I don't think he figured this out just yet, but look at the amount of Marines that are out on the map right now. They're all trying to pay attention to this Protoss army to keep track of where the third base indeed will be taken. Now, Hero, it looks like he may be trying to expand here very, very shortly. We'll keep an eye out on that, because once again, Terran is posturing here to try and get aggressive, and at this point there's really not that many units here for the Protoss player in red. I mean, he doesn't really have any splash damage here. Blink is not yet done, and while there is a Warp Prism here to start doing some damage, and actually, ooh, a single probe just got picked up. We'll keep an eye out on that one right here as well, because apparently the one that moved out towards the bottom right did get killed here by these Terran units. Is he actually gonna go for it? Oh my god, did he just really pick up a probe in a Warp Prism to go for a proxy? I think that is exactly what it is. This Marine would have been there to spot it, but it was just a little bit too late. And while Marines are trying to keep track here of the Protoss potential third bases, for the time being, I think that Protoss is looking to take an expo here in the top left corner of the map as well, which is actually really, really smart. Cheeky little move here. Now, once again, a few Adepts are going to be able to go into this Warp Prism. They will start the harassment here as soon as the Terran player decides to get aggressive. Although Gumiho has currently got units all over the map, trying to pay attention to exactly what his opponent has got in store for us here today. Double Medevacs finally in production here. Of course, going for Stimpak is all fine and dandy, and actually the Adepts are being dropped here a little bit preemptively. And of course, two Adepts not quite capable of, you know, microing against those SCVs quite as nicely, because you do need 3 in order to one-shot those SCVs. But regardless, I mean, at this point, while Gumiho has managed to get himself Stimpak and whatnot, without the Medevacs, he's gonna have a hard time using that skill, just because your units are gonna end up falling very, very easily. These units right here that use Stim once upon a time, they're still at a very, very low amount of health. But for the time being, it looks like while both players are posturing quite aggressively and they're trying to take control of the map on both ends, and they're scouting out each other's bases very, very nicely, both players seem to be able to just simply build up their economy and build up their army compositions. However, this base here in the top left corner could become a bit of an issue. Gumiho, while he's keeping track of the potential quote-unquote standard third base expansions, he does not know about the one here in the top left. And while the Reaper went here very, very early on into this game, there is no way for him to know about this Nexus just yet. And I would really like for him to send out a single SCV to start scouting, and exactly, or I guess a Marine works as well, exactly, that seems to be the case what he is doing right now. We'll keep an eye out on that, but nope, it will be sent back here for the time being. There's no third base going down just yet for Gumiho. He's instead adding on more and more barracks here, so he may be looking to get aggressive. 2-2 is done in about a minute or so, so he may very well decide to push right when those upgrades finish, and that's going to be a very, very menacing army. But at the same time, Protoss has not been sitting still, and while currently Protoss is behind, and I love this, look at that, he's going for that third base here, or seemingly to be third base, while, you know, Protoss players, or the Protoss player rather, has been sitting back here for a while as well. He's building up the amount of army that he's got, and the Colossi will shortly be joining this battle here too. This fight, however, is going to be a tricky one. There's a lot of Protoss units that will be ready to defend here, but at the same time, Terran units are going to try and potentially push into the natural, while the fight at the third base, or at the very least what Gumiho assumes to be third base, will be happening in this match. Look at that though. The amount of workers currently here available for the Protoss player is going to skyrocket. He's going to be able to produce 4 at once here very, very soon, and that's going to be scary once this base gets saturated here too. Now, SCVs will be able to move over here now that that main command center has indeed been mined out, and Gumiho is desperately trying to add on, you know, as many units as he can, but he's been very slow on the expanding just because he saw that his opponent was not taking his bases either. 2-2 just about to finish up, and I think that Protoss will look to defend against his aggression here very, very shortly, because I wouldn't be surprised if Gumiho decides to get aggressive here. Nice observer placement. We'll be able to figure out exactly what's going on, putting it right in that little bit of, like, you know, discolored area there on the back of this map actually makes it very, very difficult to spot. Look at that. That's a very, very difficult shimmer to spot here on the back of the sand of Cactus Valley LE. And for the time being, Gumiho will be spotted here. The question is, are there going to be enough defenses here? Even though for now the defenses have been pretty spot on here for the Protoss player, he's currently pretty far behind when it comes to the amount of supply, and his army is looking menacing. Stimpak being activated. We see a lot of units starting to do whatever damage they can. A few Adepts apparently have made their way inside of these bases as well, so they're gonna try and do as much damage as they can. But of course, these Liberators can push away this Protoss army very, very nicely. Did the Protoss overextend here at this point in the game? Because he doesn't have that many units. If you are behind, you've got no proper sources of splash damage other than 2 Colossi, this fight can very easily go in favor here of the Terran player with proper control. Upgrades heavily in favor so far, and actually huge blink forward there. Will be able to target fire down one of the Liberators, but at the cost of a ton of these Stalkers as well. This fight is looking very, very solid here for Gumiho, and Gumiho is taking it easy right now. He's not pushing all too aggressive, once again assuming that this is going to be the only third base of his opponent, but at the same time, the base in the top left still has not gone scouted just yet. 2 medevacs full of Protoss units, or Terran units rather, will be picked up, and they are being microed right now at the back of that, you know, Protoss natural. but it will be pushed away just here for the time being. Nice pylon placement actually by Hero, preventing that from doing all too much damage. And so far, apparently, we do see Gumiho not being confident enough to be able to take this engagement. I think once he figures out that there is a base in the top left corner, he wishes that he's taking this engagement right now, because the more time he's gonna give to Protoss, the bigger that economy will become. 65 Harfesses right now versus only 42. I know that Gumiho thinks he's currently behind in eco, but he's much further behind because of the base in the top left corner, and still, it has gone unscouted. 3-3 not quite started just yet. That is something pretty important to keep in mind here as well. Hero just simply playing this super defensively, trying to make sure that he doesn't die to any of those units, but still, these Terran units are threatening, and while there is a main army here ready to start engaging all of the, main chunk of the Protoss here too, at the same time, a huge amount of Marines and Marauders are pushing into that natural. Pylons killed before Photon Overcharge can be activated. 2 in the main apparently, or 2 in the back of rather. The natural here will be killed eventually, but at the same time this will also open up the opportunity for the Terran player to go ahead and push into the third base location. And while a whole lot of these units do end up falling, they end up doing a substantial amount of damage as well. Third base ends up going down. Fourth base, or rather the natural, now also under threat here. And while eventually Gumiho's units will end up falling, this is starting to look a little bit terrifying here for Hero. He doesn't have a whole lot of income anymore, other than the base in the top left corner. Now, this could be scary here for Gumiho as well, right? Gumiho knows that he doesn't necessarily need to take out this game and push for the victory right here, right now, assuming that his opponent is only sitting on that single main nexus. But of course, we know about the fact that there's still a mining expansion. This could be scary because I think that if Gumiho pushes onwards right now, he could potentially close out this game right here at this point in time. At the same time, Adepts still trying to harass here on the other end of the map. They're doing as much damage as possible. Apparently a single disruptor will be left here to try and defend against this aggression. Hero actually moving across to try and potentially sandwich this army. 8 SCVs there though ended up falling, and eventually the natural command center will also be floated over to that fourth base. But still, the economy is in favor of the Protoss player. Even though he lost 2 command centers, or rather 2 nexuses in this game, or Nexi I guess is what it would be. This game is far from over right now. Gumiho pushing into the main base, trapping a couple of those stalkers, trying to pick up whatever he can, but this is starting to look very scary. These Terran units are at very low amounts of HP, but he's just barely gonna be able to lift up and get on out of there. One of the Medevacs does end up falling, but at the same time, a couple of the Protoss units made their way across the map, and a whole lot of SCVs ended up paying for that with their life. Still though, I mean, I understand Gumiho's decision making here, right? He's killed his opponent's natural, he's killed a lot of the army, he's killed the third base, but more and more Protoss units are being added on, and I'm secretly hoping that a light switch is gonna go off here in just a little bit, because Gumiho, he must realize right now that there is something fishy going on at another point in the map. Once again, going for that counter-attack, a huge chunk here of the Protoss army is moving across, and I love the play that Hero is making here. Going for that mass recall here as well. He's gonna be able to do a substantial amount of damage. And once again, right, Gumiho deciding to not pick up, assuming he can take this battle. And he must realize right now that there's something fishy going on the other end of the map. Because there's no way the Protoss can build up such an army on a base that is no longer mining. He's gonna start sending these medevacs to different corners of the map, but really, what are his chances right now? Does he have enough army to take down all of these Protoss units? Look at this army. This is very menacing. These Colossi, they do a substantial amount of damage, and on top of that, he has a hard time countering those units effectively. Now, there are a lot of Protoss players that will be adding on a lot of Stalkers here, and I would really like to see more. There we go. Beautiful move there. Of course, these Vikings that are currently in production could become one of the main issues here for Hero. He's got Blink. He will be able to pick off those Vikings very easily. Nice little bit of target firing there, however, and one of the Colossi does end up falling. A massive concave has been set up, and Gumiho is going to try and take this head-on engagement, but I wonder if it is going to be enough. fourth base, or I guess this would be the natural, under a lot of pressure right now. Force fields being used on that ramp to prevent the Terran player from easily getting in here. And while there is still a single mining base, it's starting to dry up here as well. SCVs will be able to get out of there. They may very well accidentally stumble upon that nexus here in the top left corner. But while the supply counts are still looking pretty even, I'm looking at this army here, and it's starting to be a little bit terrifying for the Terran player. However, with proper micro, as we've seen him do in this game so far, this could still be either player's game. Nice blinking there, trying to prevent all of these Vikings from doing all too much damage. Target farming down at these units to the best of his abilities, and look at those force fields splitting up so many of those units, and it looks like that 2 Colossi ended up staying alive there, and the last of the Terran economy will be killed here as well. SCVs still did not find the base in the top left corner. They will start dealing some damage here on the other end of the map. A single medevac now also pushing into that main base right now, but the last command center ended up getting killed just now by Hero, and very shortly the Terran player will be revealed here as well. There's really nothing preventing this Protoss player from going inside of the base right now. Gumiho going after that nexus here too. He is already being revealed right now, but still, even this single nexus will not give him the vision that he needs. This is not the last mining base. Gumiho did not scout this base here in the top left corner, and it ended up being his letdown right now. And while he can lift up the barracks here for a little while longer, they are gonna start burning here very shortly, and more of these units and more of these buildings will get taken care of as well. 22 supply versus 106. Beautiful game here by Hero, even warping in only defensively right now at that top left base. Medevacs, they're flying everywhere. They're trying to scout out where the potential bases are at this point in the game. He knows that they could be in the bottom right corner or the top left. Those are the only 2 locations that he has not scouted throughout the outcome of this game. But I think that at this point, Hero has just simply got a little bit too many units. And what a beautiful game there. I mean, I gotta say, that Stargate opener that he went for, that was beautiful. That's one of those moves that is just super high level and one of those super uncommon ones. And while I was genuinely impressed with Gumiho's micro here in the earlier part of this game, microing those Marines against all of those Protoss units, and in particular against the Oracles, absolutely brilliantly, he just simply did not find the base in the top left corner. And Hero, he looks to be on the prowl. He's moving back home with all of these Protoss units, and Gumiho knows it, and he decides to say GG. What an awesome match. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And other than that, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you in the next one.